Hi, everyone. My name's Chelsea. I'm the host of the Becoming Solely podcast. I'm a coach, empowerment coach, personal growth coach, and I am also a public servant in the government sector. I have this channel because I really like to share real and authentic stories and anything authenticity, anything about honesty. Those are the things that I value. And I want to start sharing a little bit more about who who I am, like more things about me. And besides the podcast, I also would like to do different types of YouTube videos to share different things with you all. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being on this journey. If you vibe with my energy, vibe with my podcast, make sure to like and subscribe. And let's get into today's topic. So, I figured this topic is pretty timely because I just did a keynote presentation, or some might say like keynote speech, keynote talk, however you like to word it. I went to Mountain View, California, and I just want to break it down. Like, I guess after reflecting, I think it's been about a month now. Actually, today is officially 1 month. That's crazy. Okay, so after it being about a month of having this keynote talk and doing like the prep work and honestly like talking myself into it, I just want to talk about the process of what it looks like when you get your first keynote speech. And I want to talk about how I got it. I want to talk about what that prep process was and also what it looked like while I was there in the environment. And then I'll also talk about the reflection afterwards. How I got this keynote opportunity is I saw that Lean In Latinas, which is an organization, nonprofit that is dedicated to advancing the work of women of color and Latinas in the workforce. And they do that through networking, workshops, and community. And one of their big things is also just really advocating for pay equity. So, Lean In Latinas is an organization that I have known about for actually a few years, but I never really took the time to look into it. And in December of last year, I added the founder, Ana, who actually was featured on one of my podcast episodes, Ana D'Apelo. She's the founder of Lean In Latinas. And I connected with her last year in December, and I looked back at my messages, and she actually reached out to me just like, "Hi, I'd love to connect." So we messaged each other on LinkedIn, scheduled some time to just speak. And it was just such a beautiful energy. She was just so great to talk to, so easy to speak to, and the conversation and energy just flowed. So after that conversation, she invited me to be on the LinkedIn kind of like podcast, audio podcast. So that was like networking. So I like networked with her. She invited me to be on her podcast. And then I found out that Lean In Latinas was having a conference and they were looking for speakers and looking for panelists. I decided to just shoot my shot. So it was like, you know, I've never given a keynote or I've never been a panelist. I've never really like done something at a conference. I've done different types of speaking engagements, but this would have been like a bigger opportunity, like a big conference with over 200 women all the way on the West Coast. So I just shot my shot. I just put my application out there. And I think a few months later, I get a call. And when I put in my application, I don't believe that I applied to be a keynote speaker. I mean, no. But I get a call and I was told that I was going to be the keynote speaker, the closing keynote speaker. Y'all, I was so shocked because I had been I have been going through a lot of different changes and transitions in my life right now. So it was kind of like the best news and the only great news that I've had in such a long time. Um, but that's how I got my first keynote opportunity is shooting my shot, applying, networking, and connecting with people. I felt a little bit of imposter syndrome, I will say. So some of the things that came up for me was just like, can I do this? Is this real? Do I have the capability? all the things, right? But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm accepting it and I'm going to just do the damn thing. So I ended up saying, yes, I will be the closing keynote speaker. And I'm going to talk more now about what that process was like to prepare a speech, prepare talking points, a presentation, and what process I went through to make sure I had all of that in order to be able to speak in front of 200 people. Okay, so the prepping process. So I think the first thing I did was really try to understand my audience as best as possible. Of course, it's Lean In Latinas, so it's a Latina conference, predominantly, mostly Latinas would be going here. So making my speech relatable, but also authentic to who I am. And I think it took a lot of a balance of being able to speak about my journey, but then being able to relate to the audience and being able to relate who was there in front of me. I wrote about, I'll say like 5 to 6 different drafts before I actually finalized something. And I started, my process was just, the first thing I did was I didn't write anything down because I realized that I was struggling to actually write something down. I was like, I don't know what I want to say. What is this going to look like? So the first thing I did was I just put my, I just got my phone and hung it up, not hung up. I got my phone and put it on a tripod and click start, and I recorded myself. I was like, I'm just gonna record and pretend like I am on stage saying hello, welcoming myself, like welcoming the group, and that they welcomed me on stage, and just really envision what that looked like. So that's how I started. I just recorded myself and said whatever came out of my mouth, and even if I messed up, stumbled over my words, I just wanted something. So that's my first thing that I did was randomly record myself with nothing written down. So after I did that, honestly, I like a day later, day or two, I just let the video sit. Then I watched the video and I took some notes on the things that I said that stood out to me in that moment. Because for me, I guess obviously I have a YouTube and a podcast. I like to talk a lot, and sometimes I don't even know like what I'm saying. I just speak. So it was really helpful to see myself just speak in the moment. So I just spoke in the moment, and I really just I took some notes. I really liked what I said, and then after that, I went ahead and started drafting my speech. And like what I did is I drafted it into about like 4 sections. So like beginning, like intro and remarks, then kind of like an introduction of like myself, and then kind of like that body piece, and then a closing. So that's how I organized it. And the material that like went in those sections took some time. I mean, I started with bullet points, then I actually wrote every single thing out or typed everything out of like what I will say, just like, hello, my name's Chelsea, and thank you so much for being here. Like just having all the words there so that way I could actually practice it. And the goal wasn't to memorize every single thing. The goal was to have like a flow in mind. And once I did that, I was able to create my PowerPoint or, Canva presentation, or slide deck, however you call it, on, um, yeah, I was able to create that. And with creating that, it helped guide my speech. So I was able to look at my PowerPoint presentation and then also like read my speech while I was doing it. So I, in my brain, could relate the different sections of what I was saying based off of that PowerPoint. So that helped me have like 2 visuals in front of me. So that was like the prep process, and honestly just repetition over and over. And if I said anything brand new while I said it, I just allowed it to be. And if I had forgotten something, I also allowed it to be, and then just practice that again and then try to add it again. So it's just like repetition and really, yeah. And then also having other people look at it. So I had one of like my closest friends and I sat down and like read through it and I told her some of my ideas and she gave me some ideas, so helping me, you know, do that. And then also connecting with the conference coordinators to make sure that I was actually speaking in a way that would be relatable to their actual audience, because the coordinator would know what the audience would expect and want. So those are some of the things that happened behind the scenes before I could actually give the keynote. So now I'm going to talk about what the prep looked like actually before getting on stage and like really saying the keynote presentation, some of the things that I did to ground myself and prepare to give my remarks. To give my remarks, I think there's just a grounding piece. For me, I try to be as zen as possible because I do have like anxiety, like any other, most people, I guess. But I'm a very anxious person, so I knew that I needed to ground myself in nature, ground myself in quiet and stillness and prayer. So the day before I actually did my keynote, I spent about like 5 hours sitting in the grass under a tree, honestly, not doing much, just like zenning out, listening to the wind, listening to like conversations, like being hyper aware of my surroundings and um just getting to a space where I truly was like, okay, I believe in myself, I can do this, and really affirming that I was gonna kill it. This was great. This is what I was made for. And that 5 hours was so special. Like it really helped me feel less anxious, less nervous, and I practiced as well while I was out there in a Zen setting. So I found like correlating myself being in a Zen, calm situation and practicing my talk really, really helped while I actually gave it, because all of that energy flowed together. And another thing that I did was go to sleep early, drink a lot of water the night before, hydrate myself. I did a face mask. I just did a lot of self care. And I tried to avoid as much social media as possible just so I could, just be really present with myself and avoid any just external energies. So before you give a talk, just like make sure you truly, truly zen and relax your nervous system. I did breathing exercises, everything. Then the morning of my actual talk, I made sure to eat something. I made sure to wake up early, give myself plenty of time to do my makeup, listen to music, vibe out. I didn't look at my speech much. I think I looked at it like once or twice. And I just kept doing affirmations in the mirror while I was doing my makeup. I got this. I'm going to do so great. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm the closing keynote speaker at the Lean In Latinas conference. I have positive energy. My vibe is going to attract positive energy. Just like saying all the things. I'm not exactly sure what I said, but I said all the things that I could in that moment. And then I felt ready. I felt ready. And right before, about maybe 30 minutes before I actually got on stage, I did step outside one last time to just collect myself and relax and breathe. And I did a 10-minute meditation. So I put my headphones in, closed my eyes, sat in the sun, and just grounded. And I was like, okay, at this point, I've practiced what I've practiced. Maybe I could have practiced more. Maybe I practiced too much. At this point, at that point, you just got to do it. So I just felt really ready and I did it. Then I got on stage and I felt so comfortable. I felt like I felt really comfortable to just look at people in the eyes and see people's facial expressions and like look around. I felt very confident and calm because I had done all the prep work. I had done so much before then. And I think that is what really, really paid off. But now I'm going to talk about kind of like the aftermath and like reflection process after I gave my keynote speech and what types of things came up for me. After I gave the speech and like time went by, like that same day, what I did was I just chilled. Like I was like, you know what? I did it. I feel good. And I got myself some good food. I took a nice walk. I just didn't really do much. I just like really enjoyed myself, and I was just uh, really happy how it came out. And I didn't immediately go and watch the video to see how I did, that I had someone record, because I knew I immediately fall into judgment. And I was like, I'm not gonna judge myself after I just did that. Like, what type of thing am I like really do? What type of, like, I'm not gonna go and watch this video right after. What kind of love is that for myself to just be hypercritical? Like in that moment, you're gonna be hypercritical, so don't ever do that. The next day, I went to the pool and like chilled out and relaxed, had brunch with a friend, and took care of myself. And it wasn't until, I will say, like a week later that I actually sat and dissected and watched the video. I mean, mind you, it took some time for me to get the video, but it actually worked out because I was able to reflect a week and a half later, and actually watch the video. And some of the things that I did was I will say, take notes on things that I thought I did really well, and some of the things that I thought, okay, I'd like to improve for the next time, because it was my first keynote. I've never done this before, and you are only going to get better, as you go. And I know that that's what's going to happen. So I think that really helped me see the gaps in places that I wanted to grow in as a speaker, and how I wanted to convey my message in a better way. But yeah, I think those are the main. That's like kind of like the whole process of getting the keynote, preparing a keynote, like some of the things I did, what I did right before I gave the keynote, and then the aftermath, kind of like decompressing and reflecting after the keynote presentation. So I hope this helps you. Maybe you are going to have a keynote speech sometime, or this is something that you are preparing. I can go into like deeper details of how I did it, but I think this was my first one, so this is as much information that I have on what that looks like. And yeah, I hope this really helps someone out there. If you're going to be a keynote speaker for the first time, just remember it's your first time. Give yourself grace. You got this, and you'll only get better from here. So thank you. If this is helpful to you, again, like, subscribe, and also you could find my podcasts on Apple, on Spotify, and also here on YouTube as well.